Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Satan and Coffee. I hope you're all doing well. I'm sorry for the late start this morning. I was just trying to get the episode kind of figured out and fleshed out a little bit. So before we begin with this, right, before we dive in to Blood, Smoke, and Fire, a little PSA about this episode. So I will not be held responsible for anyone else's stupidity. Let me just put that out there right now. Okay. I do not accept any responsibility for anyone, okay, that is a viewer of this channel and does something stupid. Nothing's happened yet, but because of the topic that we're going to be getting into, I figured I would preface this with I am not condoning any acts of violence or anything of the nature, nor have I ever, nor will I ever condone stupidity. Okay. So, yeah. Because of the nature of this particular episode, I just want to preface before we get into anything, right? So, one quick second here. So, yeah. So I just want to preface the episode with that. Common sense isn't, right? Uh, so, yeah, we are going to be talking about, lightly, we're going to be talking about blood sacrifice and using blood in ritual and things of that nature. And, I mean, it's part of the culture. And I think for educational reasons, I mean, it should be discussed. It should be talked about. But because we're going to be talking about it, I just want to preface the episode by saying, I'm not responsible for you. I'm not your mom. I'm not your dad. The people watching this is an 18 over program. So, you're all grown adults, capable of making your own decisions. And if you make a bad one, that's not my fault. It's not. Yeah. So, okay. So, getting into this. So, the title, Blood, Smoke, and Fire, right? So we're breaking this down into 3 different segments. And each of those 3 segments is going to be titled as such. Okay? And be accountable and responsible. Exactly. Okay? So my opening comment for this is that spirits don't want your love and light. They really don't. They hunger for sacrifice. Offerings aren't tradition. They're the language of the gods. Okay? There is an economy that exists, spiritually speaking. Okay? And that sacred economy is of offerings. And we're going to be talking about why blood, incense, and flame still matter in occult ritual and how to do it with intent, not aesthetics. Okay? That's what we're going to be talking about. So the first segment that we're going to be getting into is we're going to be talking about blood, the ultimate offering. Okay? Blood isn't symbolism. It's vitality offered. It's the oldest, most visceral language of spirit communion. Okay? We can look at things, for example, the universality of blood ritual, from Babylonians to Canaanites to African traditions. Blood symbolizes life force connection. And if you're looking for more details about what I'm talking about, you can look up, for example, the Blood Project Wikipedia. Okay. I will provide links to everything that I am talking about. Okay. Let's see here. Let me actually open up a couple of these and get you guys the links here. Okay. No, we don't need that. Please don't start doing that. Don't do that. Okay. Sorry. Here we go. So if you're looking for what I used as reference material, there's one. Okay. It's thebloodproject.com. Okay. So this is what I've used for material. So you guys can go through and check everything that I've gone through. Here's another one. Okay, this is occultworld.com. Okay. There's another one. Okay, I just want to provide my sources, okay, for everything that, you know, I've looked up and went through to flesh out this show. Okay, so this is all the stuff that I've been reading and looking at to flesh out this show. So there's the sources. Let us continue. Okay, blood ceremonies show surrender and communion, often to cleanse, atone, or invoke protection. Okay, all the way down to Druidic and Celtic tinctures, right? Celtic lore holds that blood carries spiritual attributes transferred in ritual. Okay, activating a sigil in ritual can be done with a prick of the finger and tracing the sigil with your blood. Again, I'm not condoning you to do this. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm kind of probably telling you not to do this. I'm telling you that this is something that is done. Okay, I'm very wary on this subject, but I do think that it is something that needs to be talked about in detail. Because people, for some reason, don't understand how to do things in moderation. Like, they think they need to go full bore with it, like, and be done with it, right? So I'm not telling anyone to self-harm. Okay, I'm telling you that this stuff exists and this is why it exists. Okay. You're doing something I never see anyone else truly do. Show their research. They're all striving for perfection, never the master, always learning. Yeah, we're always learning. We're always, you know, we're always getting into it. We're always going into it, you know, trying to be better and understand things more. You know, so I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to look at the things that I looked at, and then, you know, you can go from there, and then you can make your own decisions, your own choices based off of that. I will personally tell you, blood ritual is not something that I do. I don't do it. It's just not for me. It's not that I'm afraid of needles, obviously, because, you know, I'm covered in tattoos, but I just don't have the capacity to. No, it's just, and also I have found other ways. There are other ways to kind of work around it and make it work. I feel, is it as powerful? According to what I'm reading, no. Is it a decent enough replacement? Yes. Usually I'll use like red wine. I'll do a ritual over the red wine, and that red wine will symbolize my blood. You know, and so that's what I do. I will use red wine, and I particularly use Apothic red wine. Nope, not sponsored. Just my favorite red wine, Apothic Dark and the Cabernet. The Cab is really, really good. Those are my two favorites. I'll use either of those. Do a ritual before the ritual to imbue the wine with my properties, and then use the wine as instead of blood. So that's what I do. So these aren't even things that I do, but these are things that you can do. Charging a sigil, the easiest and fastest way to charge a sigil, a little prick on the finger and use it like a pen, right? Just kind of trace over the sigil, say your chant, right? Whatever it is that you're offering and requesting of. Reserve. That's my fave. There you go. There you go. Who am I serving? Myself. I serve myself. That's who I serve. As the motto, my motto for the last 8 years now is hail thyself. With wine. Okay, so it depends. It depends on whoever I'm working with. It could be Lucifer, it could be Baphomet, it could be Lilith, whomever I am working with in that moment and at that time. The point of the wine is I'm using it as a replacement for blood, because I don't do blood ritual. I won't do blood ritual. I don't think it's necessary to do blood ritual. I'm not saying that other people shouldn't do blood ritual, but root plant can also be steeped in red wine and then used as a replacement for blood. Nice. I like that one, Tree Sap. I like that one. So there should always be alternatives, right? Now, culturally speaking, blood sacrifice is the most powerful sacrifice that you can give to any entity that you are calling upon. Go to incense and candles. Candles black because for me, black is just everything and nothing all at the same time. I'll usually just bounce between black and white. I used to be like long time ago, I used to have green and pink and purple and blue and yellow and orange and black and white and all this stuff. And I got tired of it. I just did. And I just use black and white now. That's it. Black and white candles, taper candles. That's it. I think I have like a small green votive or whatever on my altar as well, but just black and white. That's it. Incense, Nagchampa, dragon's blood. That's about it. Those are the two that I regularly. Actually, right there. That's like what my go-to. Sorry for that it's blurred, but you get the idea. Because there's an incense burner behind me. It's right there. So, that's my go-to incense. And yeah, I mean, blood sacrifice has been around forever. Our ancestors, and when I say our ancestors, I mean like the occultists of the old world, understood the power of it and how to truly take advantage of it. One of the problems I think we have in modern occultism is our disconnect from our ancestors. Like, a lot of people talk about ancestral work and getting into ancestral work and uncovering, the past and learning from their ancestors and things of that nature. But I see very few people take it to the level that I would like to see it taken to. Reaching really far back, right? Finding those connections that, lived these practices and learning from those ancestors. Unfortunately, most of the documentation that had existed in that time period has been destroyed or stolen. It's probably sitting in the Vatican basement somewhere. Sadly, it just kind of is what it is, right? And we're building on a broken foundation. And our ancestors understood how to appropriately take advantage and use blood sacrifice. I wouldn't necessarily say perhaps in a healthy way, but they understood things that we do not. They understood how to make things happen. I don't believe in the Hollywood narrative of magic by any means of the imagination. But I do think that there was a point in history where we were truly able to manifest things in a way that right now we couldn't possibly comprehend. Which is why I believe that there were so many people in the new Christian world that were so afraid of us. And to this day, why they still are afraid of us, because of our potential to unlock things that were previously unlocked, that are now actually hidden. It's one of the reasons why, if you are an advanced practitioner, I do advocate for you to reach into the void and try to contact something, anything that isn't in a book that's already written. Diverged from that too much. Exactly. And so I do, if you have been doing this for years and years and years and you have a better understanding of what it is that you're doing, I do advocate for you to take that step and reach out and discover something that hasn't previously been written down, or at least has been lost to time. Because we are not limited by the things that exist in books today. It's a good starting point. The Goetia or any similar text or grimoire are amazing starting points. However, it is not the end-all, be-all of what the occult is. And this is something that I have to insist on. Even those that, preach the most passionate of ritualistic behavior refuse to reach in and find something that hasn't been on the page and available to the public for the last 100 years. And that's sad. If you think about it, in the last 100 years, we really haven't had any advances when it comes to the entities and beings that we work with. We keep recycling everything. And there's nothing wrong with that if it works for you. Like, I'm not saying that, oh no, like your work means nothing because you're using recycled doctrine. No, not by no means in the imagination am I saying that, but I do believe that there is a level to this that requires some of us to kind of take that step and go further into it and say, what don't we know? The Grimoire Verum. I have to say, Six, that it wasn't until recently that I actually even started reading the Goetia. And I've always been honest about this. I have a fervent despise of Abrahamic traditions because I do believe that the Abrahamic triptych exists specifically to nullify and dumb down and water down the occultist's ability to truly manifest intention and desire. And I believe that the things that exist, the Qliphoth, the Goetia, things that fall inside of the Abrahamic lens, I believe that they're scraps off of the fucking table to nullify us and keep us in submission for those rebellious enough to still want to practice magic. For us to sit there and think or say, we have something that the church doesn't want us to have. If the church didn't want you to have it, you wouldn't have it. Just put it that way. Ever summoned and currently walk with is a type of spirit that is not in any publicly available grimoire. That's fucking amazing, Tree. That's amazing, Tree Sap. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy for you that you've been able to, unlock that. That is fucking amazing. So many in the occult are so afraid to unlock that potential, to open up and say, there's more to this. I know there is. We fall so content into these ideals of everything that's already out there And it's, again, there's nothing wrong with wanting to work with these entities or wanting to give reverence and worship to them. There's nothing wrong with that. But like I said, it's only been until recently that I've read the Goetian, because I have tried to keep my mind as separate as possible to the Abrahamic bullshit that gets pushed into this stuff. I mean, if you think about it, you know, there is a ritual in the Goetia to create a vessel to trap a demon, right? To control the demon, but you need to build the vessel before you start any of the rituals. To build that vessel is so specific that it would take you years to gather not only the materials that you would need to build the damn thing, but to wait for the celestial bodies to be in the right alignment to imbue that vessel with the appropriate power to hold a demon. And that sits there, and that I sit and I think it's like, is it so specific because it actually works? Or is it so specific to make you waste your time building something you never needed to begin with before you even do the work? Which is it? Because I'm hard pressed to think of any single demonolator that currently uses said vessel when working with any of the 72 goetic demons. So, if not a single demonolator in today's world has gone through the suffering of making said vessel, why was it there to begin with? Why was it needed to begin with? If we openly work and revere these entities without said vessel, and the world hasn't come to an end, it does lead me to think that things like that were put into books like that, not because you actually needed it, but to waste your time. And then that makes me think, what else in this book is a waste of time? What else in this book is exaggerated, underrated, or not even mentioned? Exactly. And so I have always said, being an occultist requires us to eventually, at some point, to break away from the Abrahamic lens. And I do believe, I don't attack anyone because of their beliefs. If you find something that works for you, then it works for you. I am no one to tell you that, Samael, how's it going? If it works for you, it works for you, and you keep doing it. But it's one of the reasons that I have a big, like, it's that this neo-pagan thing of Christian witches bothers me so much, because it provides so much validity to something that is completely stolen. Like, most Christian witches will turn around and be like, well, there's so much mysticism in Christianity and Catholicism. Look, of course there fucking is. It's all stolen. And now you're validating it by calling yourself, by having the audacity to call yourself a Christian witch. I mean, if it works for you, it works for you. This is just my opinion. You know, I don't want anyone to change because of something I said. But I also don't think that anyone should have to dumb down their opinions because it might hurt someone else's feelings. I mean, there's a fine line between being a dick and expressing an opinion, right? Just don't be a dick about it, I suppose. Because I've also noticed that with some Christian witches, they are just as what's the word I'm thinking of? Obnoxious as actual Christians. right? They are so dead set on the Christian doctrine, like they defend it fervently as just as much as a Christian does. And I think that's like another thing that's kind of like irritating. It's like, oh, like, when did we fall so far? Right? So anyway, so basically with the blood rituals, no. Historically speaking, there isn't anything more powerful than a blood ritual. There simply isn't. Are there ethical alternatives? Finger pricks, other things like that. Wine, all of these types of things, right? Yes, there are ethical alternatives. But at the end of the day, if you do read through, like if you are able to get your hands on any of the truly like old grimoires, there really isn't anything that is described to have more magical ability for manifestation than a blood ritual. So take that as you will. Like I said, I don't perform blood rituals. I don't. And I can be honest and say that from everything I've read, everything I've researched, everything I've looked at, I can't find anything that's more powerful. I truly cannot find anything that is more powerful for almost immediate manifestation. But I personally won't do it. Just don't have the stomach for it. Not my thing. And I am not sitting here saying that you should do it. I don't think you need to in today's society, but a lot of that got kind of lost in translation through the years, right? Right about the misleading stuff in these books, trying to act like occultists just to trick people from the right path. Exactly, Six. I mean, that's the whole idea that I looked at, and that's the question, right? Like these things are coming out of, a place that wanted to eradicate occultism from the world. Like that's where these things come from. The Cliffoth, the Goetia. All of these come from that place. And so I have to be apprehensive about the legitimacy of the things in the book. It's not to say that you can't get results working with the things that are in the book, but how limited is your results? And here's the thing, we would never know because we never knew any better, right? And that's the idea. That's the point of control, that the limitation that is brought into this is, yeah, we get results. We do. And usually that's enough for us because we're getting results and we say, okay, this shit actually works. But I have to ask, how limited is that results? Are we getting limited results? Are we not truly unlocking the full potential of what we're capable of doing because of where this stuff comes from? And then if that is true, then how do you go through and how do you unlock further potential? What guides you to unlock that further potential? And my answer to that question would be your ancestors. Reach as far back as you can with your ancestors, as far back as you can, and unlock what they did. Unlock what they knew. And I think that for any occultist, I feel that our journey should start not with demons or gods, but with our ancestors. I fully believe that that is where our journey should start. Dig as deep as we can, learn as much as we can from them, and then allow ourselves to begin a path with the demonic or otherwise. Set up more rules, just like Bible, but for occultists to minimize your abilities. Exactly. That's exactly it. Know thyself to master thyself. Exactly. Now, I mean, I'm not saying that, like, I mean, don't work with anything. I don't, you know, worship Lucifer or anything like that. But I definitely think that we all should incorporate ancestor because it's the only thing I can think of. Contact the people in our bloodlines that did this stuff before these books existed. Because you have to think about it. Before these books existed, somebody had to reach into the void. If you go all the way back, somebody stuck their hand into the black and something reached back. At some point that happened. So that leads me to believe that just because these books exist, it doesn't mean that that's the only thing that does exist. Let's move forward. Segment 2, we're going into smoke. Incense is spirit courier. Okay? So incense smoke carries devotion, prayers, and spiritual weight into unseen realms. Okay? So again, I'm going to provide you guys with the links, okay, that I used, okay, for this. Hopefully, they're opening for me, right? So these are all the links that I used to kind of pull together this information for smoke, for incense. Okay. And it wouldn't be research without Wikipedia, right? There you go. Those are my sources. Okay, so Nubian origins. The earliest incense burners date back to 3300 BCE. Okay, used in royal and ritual contexts. Okay, obviously we have ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. Okay, incense bridged human intention with divine presence and temple rites. Okay, India's Vedic legacy since 3300 BCE. So we got frankincense, myrrh, sandalwood has been central to worship, purification, and invoking deities. Okay, every week. So it goes way back. It's not like a new age thing. We keep calling it a new age thing, but incense goes way back there, right? Okay. And like even global sacred use from Jewish Ketoret to Buddhist, Taoist, Shinto practices, incense is universal in what would be considered alternative spiritual practices. It is a cornerstone. And you have to think, if it goes back so far, the way that we use incense in ritual practices to allow ourselves the sense of smell, like I don't think we allow ourselves to understand how powerful our sense of smell is. Now, I mean, I don't know about any of you, but for me, my sense of smell is directly connected to my memories. Like freshly cut grass brings me right back to being 16, 17 years old again and hanging out with friends around the park and the cemetery and stuff like that. The smell of freshly cut grass. Like there is such a dopamine hit when I smell freshly cut grass. And smells are so powerful, right? That using incense has the ability to unlock the mind in ways that nothing else can. Surrounding yourself with certain smells while in dedication truly does transport the mind to another place. Incense is a cornerstone of practice. to truly bring yourself to another level of ascension or descension into your focus, there is truly nothing more powerful than the correct incense. And I'm one of those people. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to use this incense with this entity, use that incense with this entity. No. Use the incense that clicks with you. Dragon's blood is very good as well. Yes, I use quite a bit of dragon's blood. Dragon's blood is one of my favorites. But I would say use the incense that clicks with your mind, that transports you. Because the things that we incorporate into ritual, the flame of the candle, the smoke of the incense, right? All of these elements that are happening around us, the music that we have or don't have in the background, the silence. Some of us activate in silence. Some of us, me personally, I need some spooky ass music. Like I do weird, dark cinematic themes. Like I don't even do like ritual music, right? When I'm in ritual, you'd think we're walking into a horror movie. But that's what I use. That's what clicks my brain, right? Each one of these things is specifically designed to transport you psychologically to another plane of consciousness while being awake. It occupies the mind. It occupies the senses, right? We hold a wand or a dagger that is imbued with our energy or dedication to an entity. It occupies touch. The incense occupies smell. The flame occupies sight. The music occupies hearing. All senses in the body are unified and occupied by the same goal through each one of these elements brought into a ritual. So use for you what is necessary for you to ascend into that trance state for the work that you want to do. That's what each one of these pieces is designed for. We like to get fanciful with it and sit there and say that this is for this reason and this is for that reason. And I believe the only important thing is to make sure that your mind and what it is that you want to do is focused on the intent, and everything around you is allowing you to focus on that intent. The one thing that I do use specific per entity are herbs. Herbs in the cauldron. Burning herbs. When I go and I burn herbs, I do specifically look for herbs that associate planetarily to the entity that I am evoking or invoking during that ritual. Everything else is for me. The herbs, that is for the entity I'm calling on during that ritual. That is their gift, their offering. Heard of it, but I can't say that I have. 6. Sounds familiar. So we kind of covered a little bit of fire, right? So talking about this, the ritual setup. So incense isn't ambient aroma. It's alchemical messenger to the hidden. And though I'm not saying to use a specific incense for a specific entity, because the point here is to unlock yourself. Unlock you. Unlock your focus. So use something that unlocks that. Use something when you smell it, your body almost goes limp. When you walk through your house and you smell that smell, you just go. And it feels like everything washes away from you. That's what you're looking for. Not, that smells okay. You want something that truly just opens the mind. For me, it's Nakchampa, dragon's blood. Those are the primary two that I use most of the time. Dragon's blood is my favorite. Out of all of them, dragon's blood is just like my favorite, but like a really high quality dragon's blood. Like, because there are some dragon's bloods, like I hate to say this, but there's some dragon's blood out there that just smells like fucking soap. And I always get so disappointed when I get a brand that I'm not familiar with and I crack it open and it just smells like a bar of soap inside of it. I'm just like, oh, that's so disappointing. It's so disappointing. And those are the ones that are just kind of like, it smells okay. Sandalwood is another one. Palo Santo, that's another good one. I enjoy some Palo Santo. If you do Palo Santo, I would suggest using the actual wood. There's a lot of dragon's blood that's counterfeit. Yeah. Like I just, sometimes I just can't get the brand that I normally get. And they always smell like soap. Yeah, when you get the real deal, you can tell. Yeah, when it's the real, like you smell that and you're like, and most of the time they're really thick sticks with like a lot of flaky stuff on it. Right. I got it upstairs. I can't remember what it is. I'm not going to run up and get it right now, but I will post a picture of it in the post section of the YouTube so you guys can see what brand I usually get and I find to be like the best one. And it's not like super expensive either. So I'll post a picture of it. But yeah, you can definitely tell when it's real, you know, like, cause it's usually really thick sticks. Like it's not like really thin, you know, and also if it smells like soap, it's just a nope. Like just, yeah, you know, just no. Also, I'm a big proponent of if you have the ability and knowledge to make your own resins, do so. Make your own resins. Like, I think putting the work in to make your own stuff, oh, there's nothing better than that, right? There's nothing better than getting your hands dirty when it comes to ritual work, when it comes to doing this. Exactly. Exactly, Nocturne. There's nothing better than getting your hands dirty in making things. If you can find a way to make your own candles, like initially getting started is a bit expensive getting all the stuff that you need. But if you can make your own candles, if you can, you know, make your own incense, please do that. Don't outsource it and buy it, you know, do it in-house. Like I personally feel like if I had the ability to, you know, make my own candles and make my own incense, oh, I totally would. I totally would. I would do that stuff all the time. Like that would become my new hobby. Like, I just feel there's so much more power in getting your hands dirty in the process of making your own shit. I haven't. That's another thing that I think that would be absolutely amazing, having like a little greenhouse, you know, with herbs in it and stuff like that, that fresh herbs that are used, you know, in ritual, roses and things like that. Like, oh, it'd be so amazing. And I just think that we don't do this enough. You know, we don't do this enough. We don't get our hands dirty enough, you know, when it comes to this stuff. You know, I really would like to see it happen more often. I would like to see more people, you know, I would like to live vicariously through you, you know, like the people that make their own candles and make their own incense resins and things of that nature. Like my hat off to you, like honestly. So yeah. Now, segment 3, fire, the act of destruction as creation. Fire is the transformer. It destroys the material, sending essence upward, resting, resetting the ritual ledger. So I use fire a lot in ritual. I know a lot of people like think that, you know, fire should only be used for like, you know, baneful magic. And I completely disagree with that. My clients and things like that, I always burn, you know, their photos and their petitions at the end of the ritual, right? So I will sit in the ritual, I will do my ritual, and at the very end, I will choose a candle in a cardinal direction, whatever corresponds, and I will burn it on that candle and then drop it into the cauldron with the herbs or the entity that I am petitioning, is how I would do things. That's how I do client work. And it has worked, I don't want to say flawlessly, but I haven't had any complaints. So it's worked up until now. So, and I've been doing it for years. I've been doing it for my stuff. I've been doing it for other people's stuff, and it just works. Okay. So again, I have a point here that I have some links here. Let's see here. These ones didn't grab. So this one kind of gets into it a little bit. This is more, again, this is kind of going into incense. Oh, nope. That was my mother-in-law calling. Sorry about that, guys. So this is talking about incense, but it does get into fire and how fire is used. So if you guys want to go through that, go for it. Okay. But so moving forward here. So homa rituals across Asia. So in Vedic Hinduism, offerings, grains, ghee, herbs are consecrated via fire to activate intent. Fire is a sacred agent. The homa fire acts as intermediary, burning meaning into the spiritual sphere. Western parallels: alchemical fire, bonfire rituals, burning mirror gazing. Okay. All of these things, when it comes to fire, fire is, I believe, the ultimate activator of intent. Right? So when we burn our intentions at the end, we activate the intent. Now, I'm sorry, this episode has actually gone beyond the time limit. I have a previous engagement that I have to get to. I do thank all of you for being here. You guys are fucking amazing. And as always, hail thy fucking self. We'll see you in the next one. Peace the fuck out.